Welcome. My name is Luke Vinton. I'm a data protection engineer here at Quest. Today we're going to be talking about Foglight and the optimization, or the optimizer piece. So pretty much what the optimizer is in a nutshell is it needs to collect data first. It's going to recognize the difference in consumption of a VM between what the VM is assigned in VMware, what it has access to, and what the VM is actually consuming, how much RAM, CPU, and disk space, stuff like that. And if there's a big difference between those two numbers, it'll give recommendations to resize the virtual machine. So in order for us to give these recommendations, it is good that you have Foglight run for at least 30 days. Generally, again, it's 2 to 3 months is the best way of knowing, the performance of the machine. Again, it's important that it runs. If the customer has like a annual spike in resource activity and stuff like that, or quarterly, we capture that so we know the actual performance. So yeah, let it run for 2-3 months, and then right now we'll start on CPU. This is a list of VMs where the difference between what it's consuming, and a lot of these recommendations are to decrease the CPU count. And this first one is from 4 to 1, 2 to 1, blah, blah, blah. This one, you'll notice it also does give the recommendation of increasing the CPU. Let's say this machine is constantly, it's constantly asking for more CPU than it has access to. Foglight notes that, and it gives the recommendation. So if a customer wants to go in like this one right here, it's saying drop the CPU count from 8 to 1. Now that's a pretty drastic drop. They can actually go in here and customize the change. So instead of dropping from 8 CPUs to 1, let's say from 8 CPUs down to 4. And then I would hit save. And then after you've gone through, okay, these are the VMs that I want resized, you can hit reclaim now. And what that does is Foglight, it talks to VMware. It will automatically shut down the VM. It'll resize the virtual machine, in this case the CPU count, and it'll reboot the server. Now, obviously, rebooting in the middle of the day isn't ideal. So we have a reclaim later option that allows IT administrators to specify a point in time that Foglight will wait until then and then execute the behavior. So pretty much you can schedule this to take place at 3 o'clock in the morning. That way the IT person doesn't have to come in at that hour or log in at that hour and execute these demands. So that adds a lot of flexibility in when this resizing takes place. So you can see we can resize the CPU count, the memory count of the VMs, the storage of the virtual machines, and then the rest of these options are getting rid of waste. So this first one here, abandoned VM images. These are, if you've ever deleted inside of VMware, if you've ever deleted an image from inventory but not from disk, the only way you ever see that image again is if you actually browse the data store, which some customers have quite large, complex environments. That would be a lot to do, a lot to ask. So we automatically bring up those abandoned VM images into this template. Into this report. And in this case, we don't have any. But if we did, they'd be visible. Powered off VMs, that's pretty straightforward. Virtual machines that have been powered off for a long period of time. Bring to your attention, do we still need those VMs? Can we delete them, free up the resources? Unused template images, same thing. Stuff that's left behind, stuff you haven't touched in a while. Do you still need them? It brings it to your attention. This one is, I do see a lot of customers automate this one. So this is snapshots. It'll show you any snapshots that are left on your data stores in your virtual environment. And you can automate this. As a matter of fact, you can automate any of these. You can have it, once a month go through and resize VMs or delete images or what have you. But I do see snapshots or customers automate the snapshot removal. Foglight go through once or twice a month and delete snapshots older than 6 days or, whatever threshold you choose. But this is a great way to make sure that there's not a lot of waste that can build up in your environment and make sure everything is, again, as efficient as possible. And there's no wasted resources, in this case, disk space laying around. All right, potential zombie VMs. Again, this is wasted resources. These are VMs that are on, they're consuming resources, but they aren't really doing much. Maybe they were part of a project that has now been put on the back burner. Maybe they're just part of VM sprawl and you're trying to figure out, do we need these VMs? Whatever it may be, this part brings these low utilized virtual machines to the foreground and helps the IT administrator identify if they needed these virtual machines or not. All of these can be turned, whether it's, resizing VMs or abandoned stuff, all this can be turned into a report that can be sent out. And this also integrates in with our cost director, which I will talk about in a separate video. But you can see here, we pull from our cost director the savings per month. So I'll go over to CPU. And you can see here $3.02, $1.01. In this case, where it asks to increase it, it's actually negative. This is the amount of money that you could save if you were to listen to Optimizer. In this case, where we had to drop from 8 down to 1, it's $7.50 that of resources that we can reclaim. Now, obviously, it is a case sometimes, the customer, they've already paid for the hardware. They don't necessarily, they don't actually equate this to dollars and cents. But the huge advantage of this is that we tally all of this savings from resizing CPUs, deleting templates and zombie VMs. We tally that into a total that, again, can be translated into a report and emailed to whomever on a schedule you choose, where you can see the exact amount of resources, and this is the dollars and cents. This isn't just the total of resources, but translated that dollars and cents, or those resources, into the amount of money of resources that you could free up. And this is hugely significant when we talk about moving to the cloud, because in the cloud, you are being charged monthly. Whereas on-premise, it's more so, hey, we've already bought all the hardware, but I want to know, the depreciation of that hardware. What is, per gigahertz of CPU or per gigabyte of RAM, how much does that cost me? We help you figure that out, and then again, we translate that into resizing your environment and the amount of money of resources that you can reclaim if you were to listen to Optimizer the whole way through. So yeah, that kind of wraps up the Optimizer piece. Thank you for your time, and stay tuned for the next video. Thank you.